This is how we made one of the best looking webtoons. So 4 years ago, I asked a professional manga artist if he wanted to make a series with me. Fast forward to now, we're serialized with one of the largest comic book publishers in the world. It's Webtoon, with multiple offers from other publishers as well, which is kind of crazy. And we've created one of the most artistically intensive projects out there with over 6 artists working around the clock to make this thing possible. And so this video is going to be how we made this webtoon. What was the journey that I went through to get this thing made over the last 3-4 years? What was my role in producing this series, and why do I think this series stands out and how it plays into the broader anime, manga, webtoon kind of industry? But before we get into that, hi guys, I'm Brandon Chen. I'm a writer and producer for the manga, webtoon, anime space. I run a studio, Inspired Productions, that produces manga and webtoons, usually originals, and then the successful ones, we hope to scale to transmedia, which is usually animation, anime, that kind of stuff. But yeah, before we get into the video, make sure to drop a like and subscribe for any sort of educational content about the anime, manga, webtoon space. Dropping a like, honestly, it really helps the video and helps to get it out to more people who like this kind of content. So hopefully you guys can do that. Now let's get right into the video. So what is, first off, this series that we just made? What is it about? It's about a devil. Her name is Evangeline, and she believes that she was born into the wrong fate. So she's basically this really bubbly, outgoing, happy girl that's really nice and kind to others, but she's a devil. So this is based off of Dante's Inferno. If you don't know or haven't studied it in school, it's like an older interpretation of the Bible and world building on Inferno, which is hell. And so, in hell, these devils are like whipping people for all eternity, and she doesn't want to do that. That's kind of like against her morals and how she feels, and she doesn't feel like she was born into the wrong destiny. So she comes across an angel who actually happens to be in heaven that is curious about what life is like in hell, and somehow convinces this angel to switch lives and bodies with her. So it's kind of like Freaky Friday or Your Name, where you switch bodies, except they have a goal to discover heaven and hell together or separately because they're in different bodies, right? And then once they get there, obviously there's a whole different scenario or story that happens. And yeah, the story is, again, if you're like Your Name, Kimi no Na wa, or Makoto Shinkai's type work, or if you also like Death Note even, you won't find out what the Death Note side of things are until later, but you'll enjoy this series. And so what is my role in this series? So usually when you're doing a manga and webtoon project, someone is writing, someone's drawing, sometimes it's the same person. For me, I'm the writer-producer for most of the series I work on, which means that I create the story, create the concepts, I build the pitch. I'm also the producer, which means that I'm in charge of building the team. So I was in charge of finding Komipa, who's my co-creator, but I also hired all the people on the team, all the legal stuff, all that stuff was me. I also was in charge of making the deal, which is taking the project, shopping it around to different publishers. We got multiple offers. We ended up going with Webtoon, who I have a previous relationship with, Just a Goblin, Samurai no Tora, amongst other series that we also have coming out with them. Yeah, and then I also market the project. I'm also involved on the art direction, so leaving editorial advice on the storyboards, lettering, coloring, how everything looks, how everything flows, the music. I hired this person for the music side. That was all my involvement. And my co-creator Komipa is also a part of all of that as well. So he has editorial. He comes over onto the writing side, also helps me with ideas, better flow, leaves feedback. He's the one who honestly pushes my scripts to new heights, in my opinion, because I'll think something's good. He's like, wait, what if we just push this because, what if this connects with this in this future episode? I'm like, wait, that's such a good idea. Total aside for a second, that is a great reason why collaborating with talented people is so fun, rather than just relying on yourself. Because if I was the sole writer, it's great, I think my ideas are great, but learning from and collaborating with other people who are also really good on the editorial side helps you kind of elevate and grow as a creator. So just a side note that if you're a creator and you're worried about collaborating with others, it obviously depends on who it is. Komipa has been doing this for as long as I've been alive, so that's probably why his feedback is especially good. But I think that collaborating is always a great way for you to elevate your own skill set. And I'm also learning a lot from the art direction side, because he's obviously in charge of the storyboards and the inking and also the overall art direction. So I'm also learning a lot just from being in that room with him, also helping him with those decisions. But yeah, so that's my involvement. And like I said, how we got this project made was I just shopped it around to a bunch of different publishers. I think that a big thing for me with regards to the publisher thing was, how did I even make those connections? I think really hard to get the first connection at Webtoon. And then after that, once you put out a good series that people really like, other publishers want you to replicate that success. Other publishers will reach out to you, or they're more open to taking a call with you or a connection with you based on your portfolio usually. So you know, if you're an aspiring producer or aspiring writer, the hardest part is obviously getting the first connection, and then the second hardest part is making a good series, which arguably is the hardest part, making a series that is popular, that people like. And then after you can do those two things, get a chance, make a good series, then other publishers will, you know, I'm sure hit you up. So it's a lot easier after you make a banger, after you make that initial connection. So those are two steps if you're wondering, how did I become a producer in all these spaces? And so now I want to talk about why I think that this webtoon is one of the most artistically intensive or one of the most innovative kind of in this webtoon space. And so I'm going to be talking about a few things. The first being obviously the art style. Obviously this art style is very Japanese because Komipa is coming from the Japanese manga industry. He's also, I think, worked in the anime industry as well. And the art style, in my opinion, is beautiful colors, insane line work, really detailed, not just on the background side, but also the character side. And I think that it has a lot more detail than a lot of the series that are out there. I think that it has a fusion of very detailed art style, but also the concept is also what allows for us to push things a little bit crazier. For example, because we have a certain interpretation of heaven that feels somewhat futuristic, some of the buildings might be more of a futuristic vibe, things are very colorful, and because of the concept of us being in heaven, we're allowed to draw those things, whereas a lot of series that are like, let's say, a system fantasy in the Korean space would not be drawing heaven because that doesn't make any sense in the broader scope of their concept, right? So because the series is high concept, but also because the artist is insane, the art team is insane, we're managing to put together like this very fresh and beautiful look on something that just is not commonly done in the webtoon space, if that makes sense, which is, in my opinion, what makes it really stand out. Going off of the art side, you know, we hired different people for pretty much every stage of production, very similar to like how an animation studio works, right? Like animation studios will break things down into character, you know, artist, background artist, character prop, storyboard, whatever, right? And we do it very similarly where we have different artists at different stages of production. So that's how my studio, Inspire Productions, is currently doing a lot of its serialization projects, is like we kind of build out different sectors of the production, storyboards, inks, colors, whatever it is, and having different people doing that, kind of like an assembly line, you pass it down, right? That's probably why this project took an enormously long time for me to figure out, was because it was my first time doing a full-scale production, building that team by myself, or not by myself, with obviously Komipa and like other teammates that helped me, but learning how to manage that production was a big learning experience over the years, and that's probably why it took a longer time to put it out. Also because every single panel or image pretty much looks like an illustration. Like the quality that we've put out is absolutely insane. You could screenshot it and use it as your screensaver. My screensaver is literally just a random panel from episode 5 of Angel Wings. It's just a random panel and it works as my freaking screensaver on my phone. It's actually beautiful how it came out. And again, that's not me gassing this up because I didn't do the art. I'm gassing up the team. But you know, why does this series, in my opinion, stand out besides the art? You know, I think from a story perspective, it's very different from a lot of the stuff that you would find in traditional Korean webtoon space, or even the Japanese webtoon space. It's closer to something that you might find in either a niche manga or a higher scale Japanese anime film, even like a Makoto Shinkai type film, or even like not quite Studio Ghibli, but you know, something like a studio of that nature would be able to produce something like this. And because the story obviously is about Christianity, it's about body swap, there's a lot of drama, and even if you get as you get deeper into the series, like it becomes closer to that, like I said, Death Note kind of vibe. It's definitely not something that you would find in the traditional Korean webtoon space, because the current Korean webtoon landscape, in my opinion, is mostly studios doing like more low risk approaches to storytelling. And you know, I can make a different video on why this is, but if you see a lot of the romance series or the system fantasy series or even the action series, a lot of them kind of feel or look the same. And again, this is because readers enjoy this type of content, even if it's, you know, feeling derivative or feeling similar to another series, the readers will consume it, and so the studios will produce that because readers are enjoying it still, right? But we didn't want to do that because I think that it's hard to stand out. It's hard for us as creators to produce a series that you can remember for years to come. I think one feedback or thing that I see from a lot of webtoon and even manga readers is like, oh, I can't remember the main character's name. Oh, I don't know, you know, some of these characters look the same, for example. Like, for example, Japanese isekai anime, it's like a lot of the characters have the same haircut, which, you know, is like, if I pulled my hair down, it's probably what it would look like. But I think, you know, if you want to create a series that, let's say like One Piece, right? If you want to create a series like One Piece, there's only One Piece, and whenever someone thinks about One Piece, they immediately know who the character is, and it's so iconic, the entire series, and there's nothing like it, right? And there's only one Piece, and anything else that is trying to replicate One Piece is just a One Piece clone. Same with like, let's say like Solo Leveling. Solo Leveling was the first to do what it did, right? Or not the first to do it, but it was one of the most popular. Solo Leveling, Sword Art Online, whatever it is. And then everything after that is kind of like not just a clone, but like derivative of that. And so you remember Solo Leveling, you remember Sun Jin Woo, but maybe you don't remember the other characters from series that are very similar, right? And for us, we really did not want to fall into that like, hey, we're living in someone's shadow. It was like, hey, how can we push something that feels fresh yet different at the same time? I always say this in all of my videos. You've probably heard me say this in, you know, a video, or even if you've been to any of one of my talks at conventions, fresh and familiar, because you want something familiar so that you know that, you know, when they're reading it, they can be like, oh my God, I really loved, you know, Your Name, Kimi no Na wa. And I, you know, read the series and it reminded me of Kimi no Na wa, Kingdom Hearts, and it gave me this feeling of nostalgia. But also at the same time, I've never read anything like this. That's what you want them to feel, in my opinion. That is what I love to see from readers. It's like, I've never read anything like this, but at the same time, it reminds me of something that I love. And that is the best feeling, because I think it means that you hit an audience that is probably gonna resonate with your work. And it also means that you are creating something that is new to the market, that is fresh and different from everything else on the platform or in the world, whatever it is. And that is the most creatively fulfilling thing, in my opinion. And I think that that is how Angel Wings, in my opinion, stands out in the broader landscape of the anime, manga, webtoon space. Not even just that, we also added in music. This was a last minute decision of mine because I thought that music would help to elevate this project and help it feel a little bit more immersive. So you didn't know webtoon as a platform, because it's digital, you can actually integrate music into your reading experience, which is very different from Japanese manga, which is, you know, print format. Because this is digital first, you can have the music on there, and kind of like a video game or an anime, when the panel hits a certain moment in the reading experience, you can have a different song trigger at that moment, which I think is freaking sick, right? So because we did that, we created an original soundtrack just for the series from a composer, Eric Viator, who has worked for anime style video games. And so because we loved his music, it kind of gave us this like Kingdom Hearts, Makoto Shinkai type, like even like Hiroyuki Sawano. If you guys don't know who those composers are, they worked on some of your favorite anime stuff. It feels like that kind of vibe, and we could integrate that into a series in a way that feels fresh and also like very, you know, thematically Christian is what this Angel Wings is about, Christianity, right? And so we wanted to have that feeling, and we have so much good feedback on the music in this series. It's like the art is good, the story is good, then the music takes it to a whole different level. It feels like you're watching like an anime while you're reading this webtoon, which is a crazy experience. And so I think that elevating that reading experience by just adding music that really resonates with the series helps this series really stand out even more, and enhances the reading experience as well. That being said, the music stuff is all extra. Like, I invested in that because I wanted to, because out of pure passion, but that's not something that you usually build into a webtoon budget. Like, you know, the publishers and all that don't give you money to do music, right? Music is so optional, and me, I just like dished money out of my pocket too, because I love this series, and I think that I have spent 3 years of my life on this thing. I wanted to bang, you know, wanted to kill. And so yeah, I think like at the end of the day, Angel Wings, we poured our heart and soul into it. We really wanted it to stand out as a series. So that is why I think that is one of the most intensive series on the platform. So before I leave, make sure to drop a like if you enjoyed learning about some things from this video, about the process of how we made the series, all that kind of jazz. Comment any questions you might have, or even what you think about the series. I would love to see either your comments here on the YouTube video or on Webtoon. Leave comments on Webtoon, that's even better, because then our publisher can see it, and that helps us, honestly, because, you know, publishers are looking at all the numbers and all that stuff. This is how it works. And yeah, and hopefully you'll come and support the series, you know, give it a read. I'll leave the link in the description, Angel Wings. And yeah, thank you guys again so much for watching and for joining us on this like 3-year-long journey, or this is the 3-year-long journey that is now continuing to make this series happen. But yeah, again, thank you guys so much. I'll catch you guys on the next week's video. Peace.